I was wrong in doing what I did.
No, no! No! Are you listening?
Sean here, and it's raining like crazy here, and there's flooding, and the kids are out of school, and I finally found some place to drop my son off, and now I'm headed into work. But I want to talk real quick about Lorne and finances, but first I want to talk about living with Lorne, because John Dupee, I still think he should have kept Dupee, because Chris, my man Chris had to correct us and say it was Dupee. He ended up homeless. The guy who came, he wanted to wear a cowboy hat and a vest, and he had a condom in his pocket, and I'll always carry condoms. I'll always carry condoms. Do blacktop work. I'm looking for blacktop work. Can't even remember his name, but he is memorable. You've got that guy who ended up living under overpasses and ended up hooked on drugs. Lorne chose alcohol, and somehow he managed to keep his trailer. I don't know what he is required to pay every month, but I'm pretty sure there's a grace period. He's probably the guy who calls and says, I sent my electric payment to the phone company and my phone payment to you guys. I am so sorry. Oh, God, that's okay. Go ahead, cancel those checks. Go ahead and send it in when you get it. And that would be something Lorne might do. He would rather learn how to buck the system than actually follow the rules. How hard is it to go out and get a job, any job, minimum wage? You have no money. I can't imagine that unemployment pays more than a job that Lorne might be able to get, loading lumber or something like that. Lorne has his trailer. I don't know about property taxes and all of that, but I'm sure there's a 3-month gap between his payments and constant reminders from whoever it is he has to pay. Hey, you're late on the payments. We need to go. A dude who is negative in his accounts, huge loans, absolute devastation in terms of finances. When you have money is when you should be taking risks. When you don't have money, you should not be taking risks. Lorne takes risks at both. He's the guy who goes out and gets a concrete mixer because he might be doing concrete work in the future. That kind of guy whose taxes are coming in. He's supposed to get a great tax return. It's already spent. He's in debt. And think about the way Lorne thinks. He goes in debt, possibly takes out another loan. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and pay it with my tax returns. Not realizing, not caring, probably, that he's going to be in a terrible financial situation with no job. And the guy can't even get a roommate. If I was Lorne, I'd have a roommate. And I'd tell them, you got to pay half. But who would want to be a roommate with Lorne? If he's bored, you're bored. If your door is locked, it doesn't matter. Knock, knock, knock. Oh, you're nursing a headache? Knock, knock, knock. Hey, come out and watch TV with me. Hey, I'm out here. Come out here. Hey, I'm talking to my catfish. Let me put her on speaker so you can hear. Oh, you're nursing a hangover. Even worse. Knock, knock, knock. Let me in. Headphones for your stereo or your TV or your phone. They wouldn't matter. Lorne would hear silence in your room and knock, 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 knock. Or he'd be out there while you're sleeping, because we know he doesn't sleep because his health is so terrible he can't sleep. I don't know if he's in pain all of the time because of his teeth, but look at those things, man. Look at those choppers. Look at that beef. Look at the choppers on him, man. You would think that my man would be in pain all of the time unless they are all just completely dead. The nerve endings have rotted out. Maybe alcohol was dealing with some of the teeth pain. I have no idea. Doubtful, we know that. But he would have to be in pain all of the time because of those teeth. He's not in the best of shape. That big fat gut, his back is probably killing him. The man doesn't take care of himself. So he doesn't sleep. And because Lorne doesn't sleep, you don't sleep. Because Lorne is bored, you are bored. Lorne is lonely and desperate. But if you're a guy, you might pick up the phone and take one of his catfish women away from him. You want a room with me? How big's your dink? Oh, 3.5 inches, oh, I'm sorry, you can't come in. I need somebody 3 or less. And that's erect. Not erect, micro penis. Has to be smaller, so it's gonna have to be like a micro penis. Can't have anybody that could beat me in shower jousting coming on in here. There's so many people right now that have never sacrificed, and they'll go in debt to spend their money on the finer things. They'll want everything, and they will expect those loans to just go away, or when they die, they'll go away. Well, might as well live now. I'll pay them off later, but right now, I'm just trying to establish myself. Lorne would rather spend his money on cigarettes. They are very expensive right now. I don't know what they are where you live, but they're like double gas. I think some places they're like, in the convenience stores, they're like $6. Very clever by the tobacco companies. Smoking is bad. Let's raise the price. That will deter people from smoking. No, it won't. I tried to quit smoking once, and I managed to do it. I was on Wellbutrin. I had nicotine gum. I went to this like elite level instructor course with my instructor, who was, you could probably look him up, the youngest master in the American Taekwondo Association history. Prodigy. I looked up to him a lot until later, when the luster wears off. But I went down there, and one time I said, I have to go to the bathroom. I was out of nicotine gum and I was fiending, so I ran down the street to Walgreens, picked some up, came back. That trip helped me quit because I didn't want him to know I smoked. Now, I eventually told him after I quit smoking that I used to smoke, and he was shocked. He was like, I couldn't even tell. I'm like, that's because I always had my breath, mints and cologne. But smoking was an expensive habit, and I think Lorne smokes what? 2 a day? 2 packs a day? I don't even know. I don't know. But they're very expensive, and my man would rather spend that money than spend it on things that he actually needs. I've been there, taking out loans that you didn't really need, extending one of your loans, getting your car refinanced because you're broke after a divorce, having car interest payments that are, they were high-fiving when I walked out of the bank. So I know what it's like, but I know what I needed. I needed food. I needed to feed my kids. Imagine if Lorne had kids. Do you think he would spend his money again on clothes and food? No. He would be like the asshole I know who's buying $20,000 cars, just like Lorne would, because they're going to appreciate and value, because they're old school. I'm going to leave them to my kids, and they really love them, and they don't. They've never even made a comment about them. And they eat burnt popcorn for dinner. I'm going to let that sit there. This guy had over $700,000. And I'm pretty sure he's to the point now where he's taken out a loan. Some people buy because they need to buy. My sister went through it. I told you about that. They needed to buy things to fill a void in their life. Me, I've spent a crap ton of money recently on things I need for magic. Like I said, it's going to be my last run at competitions, and I may perform but to shows when they come up with a friend of mine who's an illusionist, and I'd be like the mid-act, right? When they need to move from change of clothes, when they're switching illusions. God, I'm off on a tangent. I apologize. But I spent that money on things that I desperately needed, because everything I had was kind of outdated, and I couldn't, it was old. Some of my stuff was like, the air kind of, discolored it, even though you keep it covered up just because of the nature of how long I've had them. I spent that money, and I'm using every single thing. Lorne doesn't use every single thing. Imagine banking your whole year on the yard sale. There's a 50-mile yard sale or something here. I've been on it one time. They just set up all up and down the road at churches, and it's pretty cool. It's neat, but it's nothing to write home about. And there's no way in hell I would ever bank my financial situation on a frickin' 85-mile yard sale. As Raptor Bacon used that picture of the human centipede. God, he's a fucking genius, man. I love him so much. I don't even know him as a person, but he's so creative. It makes me so happy. I'm happy when I'm on. Sometimes I'm happy on Cornwall Freeway. He rarely acknowledges me. Fuck that, Australia. I'm kidding. Winnie's boyfriend/husband streams, they always seem to be positive. Earrig is one of my favorites. Enough stroking egos here. You guys know I think Heelborn and Blue Boy are untouchable. And if they shot a baby, I might forgive it. Moving on. You couldn't be his roommate. You just couldn't. You couldn't, hey man, can you spot me for this month's electric bill? Hey man, can you spot me for this? Hey, one more quick story. A friend of mine bought a $375,000 house. And this lesbian couple, doesn't matter that they're lesbians, but he made a big deal of it. That's why I call them the lesbian couple, because we were reminded every other day that they were living in his house. He depended on them to pay the utilities, and then he lost his job. And that $1,500 to $2,000 a month payment became a monster. In Lorne's world, because of the money he could potentially make, the little things become monsters. That's why people play the lottery. If you are in a dire financial situation, it will get better. Stay the course, work on bettering your situation, work on bettering yourself. Don't bank on money coming out of nowhere. The worst thing you can ever do is bank on inheritance. You heard part of my story. I'm still working up the courage to tell that, man. It burns. It makes me angry. It makes me sad. I didn't cry when my mom died, but the other day was the anniversary of her death. It had been 10 years. And I had to stay so strong. I just couldn't cry. I had to keep my dad. I'd try to keep him from crumbling. And I crumbled. And I was done for the entire evening. It finally hit me. I don't know what kind of inheritance that my man Lorne is expecting from Mama Gwen, or if she had a life insurance policy. I do, but I'm afraid to tell the kids, hey, I got this much money in life insurance. Died mysteriously the next day. Moving on. I don't know if he's expecting some kind of inheritance, or he's hoping that there's a distant uncle somewhere. I'm adopted. And my family is on the other side, is Abafangula. And I've wondered sometimes, they don't really know I exist. My mom does. I know Uncle Gino. I know them. But I don't put any stock in the fact that my biological father is going to go, well, I've got a biological. And that would be Lorne. Lorne would bank on, well, this is going to happen. I mean, it's what I think. It's what I said about Paula. He worked up that relationship in his head. And because he believed that's how things would play out, that's the lie he started to tell. What if Roy made an off comment like, well, I think Mom might have a life insurance policy. Lorne doesn't need proof. He just wants to know. He doesn't want to learn. He wouldn't go research it. And if he found out, hell, he might go ask Mama Gwen, hey, Mama Gwen, what's your life insurance like? Mama Gwen, how much are we going to get when you die? Can you imagine asking your parents that? Hey, Mom, when are you going to die? How much money am I going to get? When you are mentally struggling, and this is something I frequently speak with people about. I don't have patience or anything, but I do speak with my friends, and if they have people that need to talk to somebody, I am there. And I told you why I changed my mind about the internet. It's because you guys would troll me, and somebody would try to trap me, and I would have one of my quotes taken out of context, and I'd be Joran. Well, I'd never be Joran, but I'm just not comfortable with it. You know what? If there is somebody out there, I changed my mind. If there is somebody out there that needs somebody to talk to, my son's school, I had to talk to my son because an 8th grader who was kind of a mentor to him hung himself. And my son made a comment that he was going to kill himself because they didn't talk to the kids and tell them how to deal with it. And Merrick, he just said something. to get attention, and I ended up having to go pick him up from school, and I found out there were a whole dozens of people, dozens of kids who had said the same thing, and I had to talk to him about it. So if you're down and depressed, I will not lie to you. We will talk about your situation, and we will talk about how you're feeling and how to get out of that rut. I'll do it if it's somebody really wants it. So moving on. Lorne, he's never got the proper help. One of the things we've talked about is that they should have taught him about financial responsibility, fiscal responsibility. I mean, I would, if I was one of the therapists or guidance counselors, whatever Lorne's going to call them, and I hear this guy talking about his financial situation, I'm going to at least try to say, look, Lorne, if you're making this much a month, this is how much you have to spend. This is what you should pay first, because bipolar people are going to ignore their bills until the last minute. People with strong bipolar, shit, I do it. And this is no joke. One time, I ran outside because I had just paid my electric bill that morning. And I put it off, and they had shut my power off for about 10 seconds. And I'm like, whoa, 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 everything's paid up. Look here. And he flipped it back on. I don't know why it happens, but it's like I'm too tired, life is too hard. So that could be happening to Lorne. I just don't want to deal with it. If I don't think about it, it's not happening. Lorne would be the guy, he'd have a bunch of work to do, and instead of going in, oh, snowing outside, I can't come into work today, because he didn't want to deal with it. Rather than doing what's hard and doing what's right, he would rather stay home. And I think that's part of the reason he doesn't want to do what he doesn't want to do. So he can't get a job, he can't keep a job, no one will give him a job. His track record is terrible. He couldn't get a job where they had to do a security clearance because they would see he was in debt, and that's a huge red flag, because those people will tend to leak information for money. Even with a roommate, he wouldn't be able to make it. Even with a decent job, he would waste his money. He wouldn't pay off those loans because they're so large. Someone like Lorne would say, I can't even make a dent. I can't even make a dent in them. I'll make the minimum payments like I did on my car after my divorce. I'll make the minimum payments. I just need to get to a point where I can pay more. But Lorne would reason, well, I'll pay more when I get enough money. No, he wouldn't. When he gets enough money, he's going to still make the minimum payments, because now he has enough money to buy all of that stuff he wanted. I would love to see Lorne's finances. Blue Boy, just brilliant. Was able to see it. The dude gave out his bank account information. He has nothing else to share. His life is so boring. Here's my bank account information. I'm trying to woo you, as we've said before. Look at all the debt I'm in. Come on out. Help me pay it off. We'll have a good life. I'm sure his peeing outside has something to do with water. I'm sure he will try to skimp. Hey, come on out and live with me, but you got to pee outside. What the hell, man? Well, I got to spend money to hang out with Tony, so I guess I got to spend the money on that. You know, that's the only way I can keep my friendship, is spending money, and that's more important. Friendships are more important than anything else. Putting all this money on my C card is so much more important than anything else. I got to talk to my 13-year-old girlfriend. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to come home, and I'm going to want to talk to you from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed. If that's not a sure sign my man is a virgin and has never had a relationship, I don't know what is. I just asked my friend Howard, just for the heck of it. I said, hey man, how much do you talk to your wife at work? How much does she call you and you guys just bullshit? And he was like, never. We talk at home. If she calls me, I know it's serious. And that's kind of the deal with Lorne. I don't have anything to talk about, but I'm going to call you and I'm going to tell you about a bunch of stuff that's really boring and that you don't really care about. He would rather spend money on the internet than food, because the internet, he can check the YouTube videos. I love when he lied about getting money from his non-monetized YouTube channel. He's taking money from his mom, which is going to dry up when she passes away. I don't know what keeps on going. I mean, for the spouse, some of the money would keep on going. I don't think she has a pension or retirement. I'm not sure how she survives. If his other siblings who are successful, if they help her out, I don't know. I don't know if Lorne would go to them and give them a sob story. I just know that he has no money and he's running out of time to get some kind of job. He will never be able to retire from a job. He will die before he can retire. Unless he gets like an emergency management or a hazardous duty pay where you can retire after 20 years. Lorne will be in his 70s when that occurs. And we hope, some of us, that he doesn't make it that long. His life is hell right now. When you have money, no money, life is hell. Life is hell. It sucks. Most of your marital problems are about money. And when you can't afford the nicer things, sometimes you go and look for nicer people or someone else with nicer things. And that's just the state of things. Lorne can't even do that. Casey had nicer things, and that might have been some of the appeal. That's my video rambling for today. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.
Hang on, I can't even catch my breath. Hang on.
Yeah, this is what?